Shalawam, shalawam. Let's get into it, man. Shabbat shalawam. It was the Shabbat when I was recording this, so Shabbat shalawam. It may not be the Shabbat when I upload it on YouTube, though. And I gotta get some more lighter fluid for this. There we go. All right. Share the live out real quick. Hey, your brother funny. Those tracks was missing my vocals. Yeah. Alright, man. Facing the east, giving all praises, honor, and glory be to the Father and the Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of the great millstone, which rule well and teach well, and sincerity taught us this truth. And shalom to the Lord's hopeful elect. Alright. 144,000 men, as well as 1/3 men, women, and children, maintaining themselves, keeping the laws, commandments, and statutes to the best of their ability. It's your brother Yerami Kazak back with hope for another edifying lesson. Through the spirit, power, and strength of Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Kakadash, the true names of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Now this one will be entitled, Esau Be Lying. Alright? Esau Be Lying. Because Esau be lying, man. Okay, now I was up last night. I had uploaded a couple things about, what we about to go into. And you have to bear with me because I got 3 videos, which is far more that could be, used. I'm going to just get snippets of these joints. But, the videos is going to speak for itself. How Esau lies about damn near everything, man. Okay? All right, so let's get a precept first. I can't spell today, real quick. This is Psalms 49:11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Okay? Now, Esau is what? He's cursed. He's cursed to be a what? A vagabond, a bandit. All right. He goes from land to land. Okay. Let's go get that. This is Genesis 4:12. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. Okay. Now, as you go up, understanding that this is what the Most High said to Cain. And Yahweh said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. So this curse was placed on Esau. All right? This curse was placed on Cain. Now, we understand regeneration, reincarnation, that Esau is indeed Cain. Okay? So it's the same soul, the same spirit. All right. So the wicked was reborn through Esau, the sons of the wicked. Okay. So let's read it again. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. This is why Esau constantly got these warehouses and stuff, and they giving you watermelons without seeds, oranges without seeds, all this type of stuff without seeds, man. Grapes, seedless grapes should not exist. You know? Makes no sense. Okay? So when they tilleth the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. Right? So the earth is it just goes against Esau. I don't want to deal with Esau. I don't work with him because he's cursed. And then he's a fugitive and a vagabond. He's known as the wicked. That's his reputation. That's his name. All right. He wanders from place to place. He don't live in Mount Seir. He don't live in, his land is in Jordan, but he's not there. Okay? He's everywhere else. He's always messing with everybody else's shit. And he's never staying at home taking care of his house. You understand? So he's a fugitive. He does mischief everywhere he goes. He's a criminal. He is the original criminal. The serpent. All right? This individual. Nakash, this warlock, this witch, this person that does divination, cast spells. All right? So with that being said, he's also a liar. Let's get another one. This is Psalms 55 and 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. You can't trust anything that he's telling you, anything that he's saying. And that includes the buildings that he's giving you. Talking about he built this and he built that and he did this and he did that. All right. I'm about to show y'all a video with an Edomite, and he's actually exposing Esau. Okay. Now I'm going to get one more precept, then we're going to get into it. This is Psalm 64 and 8. So shall they make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So Esau is going to talk about each other. They're going to expose one another. They're going to do this. All right. So this is prophecy for them to expose one another. All right. 1 second. Oh, no, it was just FedEx at the door. All right. Let me get into it. Let's get into it, man. And we'll get to that later. We'll start at this one. Old World Construction Timelines. Now, this Edomite dude, it's a pretty good page. He could be Jake, but it's a pretty good page. He's going to go into ancient buildings, okay? And I'm going to just play probably 10 minutes of it or whatever, and we could talk about it. But he's going to go into some ancient buildings and let you know that the shit is not matching up, all right? And, hey, this is fair use TikTok, fair use for educational purposes only. Educational purposes only, all right? Fair use.
We begin with the Betts building in Philadelphia, a Victorian skyscraper said to have been built in 1889 and 1890. I don't have the actual date.
All right, so this is what you're going to find with a lot of these buildings. Damn near all of them when I watched this video last night. Every building that they're going to show you was built in 1 year. Okay? And that makes no sense because today, Esau, even in these extravagant products, these extravagant buildings that they're building, right? It takes them about 5 to 10 years. Okay? It takes them at least 5 years, So I guess back then, I mean, hey, make it make sense to me. Back then, I guess the technology they had was far more superior to now, to modern day. Because they was putting up skyscrapers in a year. You understand? So things are not going to make sense, right? Let's let it go. And most of these buildings we going to see were demolished, were tore down.
But there's a 1 to 2 year timeline for that one. Betts building would be on this side of the seam here. This is the Franklin Bank building over here, also said to have been built in 1888, 1889. So again, another short build time. And they demolished this thing in 1926, we are told. I just want you to get a scope, get a sense of the scope of the architecture here, the weight of the building materials themselves, and this is a great image of the...
And they did it with what? They built this with horse and buggy. They transported all this material with horse and buggy, and they did all that in a year. Now, if you was a, if you're a curious individual, you could take that up and put that up on AI, and it's gonna tell you that it's a load of shit, man. Okay? The amount of material that was, you see how big this building is? The amount of material, you could not transport all that with horse and a buggy, man. It's not gonna work out. All right? So let's let it go.
The materials themselves, and this is a great image of the feeble-looking horse and buggy stacked up against the stone edifice of the Betts building in Philadelphia. We do have a rendering as well of supposedly what it was going to look like, possibly what it did look like.
This is what it did look like. All right? This is what it did look like. Most of these buildings that were built, they had in the top of them bell towers. Bell towers. Okay? They built the structure and then they built a tower at the top. Of most of these buildings I'm going to show you, they had bell towers, because what do bells do? The frequency of the bells, it cleanses. It's a positive vibration. They understood how to use sound waves to heal. That's what bells do. They heal you. And you go to those like in the Himalayan mountains, the monks, the Tibetan monks and all of them, what do they use? They use bells, and they do the hum, because they're messing with that frequency. All right? Because they understand that's old world technology, that it heals. All right? But I'm going to play another video later on where during World War II, they took away all the bells in Europe. And they took away all the bells, and they did the same thing in America because they didn't want that healing frequency to go out. Esau, once again, is a fugitive and a vagabond upon the earth. Everywhere he goes, he destroys and he brings death. All right?
You'll see this a few times in this video as well. Originally, it having a tower, we are told. And miraculously, we are provided with a construction photo from 1890. You think the etchers were hard at work on this one? And here's that top portion. Not really making sense, too. Let's take a look here. This is the top of that Franklin building. They're going a lot higher here than it looks to be over here. So definitely a suspicious construction photo. Not the first we've seen here. The Betts building, Philadelphia. This is the Butler County Courthouse in Dayton.
What does it got? It's got like that. This is how we built our buildings. All right? This was how we did it. All of that. Esau does not do that. Esau can't even recreate that.
City, Nebraska. Said to have been built in 1890.
1 year.
1889, depending on your source. It only gives us the 1 year. That's why I included here. I couldn't find any resource telling me when the actual build date was, so we're going to assume it was all done in that 1 year, like so many buildings at this time. The very small town of David City, Nebraska, at the time would have had a population of about 2,000 people, and in our modern day still has a population of about 2,000 people.
So 2,000 people put this up, right? The things, when you go into these, and that's the thing about a liar. When you go into a liar and the stuff that he's telling, it never makes sense, man. It never makes sense. So the what we're seeing is, and brothers that do research on tribe of Gad, tribe of Reuben, etc., or Moors that was over here, Vikings that was over here, etc., you'll see that we had cities over here already. Okay? Jake was over here flourishing. Jake was over here living. Jake was over here doing his thing, And Esau just came and conquered and took over and claimed these certain buildings, claimed these areas, and said that they put these up in 1 year. Come on, man. The brother said, I'm an hour away from that building in Nebraska.
But they built this in under a year, we're to believe. Next up is the Calvert Building in Baltimore, said to have been built between 1900 and 1901.
1 year.
Interesting, you get a construction photo back there as well for a little background action. Nice looking building, it still stands. You can see it's being modernized here at the top. Never looking quite as spectacular as they do in these old photos. A little bit confusing on this one too, because this building also pops up as the Calvert Building, and I can find very little information on this one, but I felt it worth including in this video. So much decoration. Now this one is said to have been built, this is the Chateau Frontenac in Quebec City, Canada, and it's said to have been built between May 1892 and opened on December 18th, 1893. I think that makes it about an 18-month timeline.
They put this up in 18 months, so they claim. And this fire, bro. This architect is fire. And this is similar to what the type of architect you would see during the Moorish civilizations. Now, what was the Moors? Israelites as well. All right? They had knowledge of these certain things. They had knowledge on how to build like this. Okay? They built a lot of their buildings similar to this. All right? Yeah, you could call it Tartarian, etc., But really, Dark Ages, that's us. That's Jake. All right? Now let's get a precept. Revelations 11 and 18. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great. That's talking about the 144,000 and the 1/3. And should have destroyed them which destroyed the earth. For a man to come and take your heritage, take everything that you built, take everything that you put your hard work, dedication, time into, generations, you know what I'm saying? All the land, we got to get the Micah 2, right? Yeah, you destroyed the earth. Furthermore, going back to him being a fugitive and a vagabond, everywhere the YT man steps, he plunders, he rapes, he robs, he steals. That is his purpose, man. All right? Everywhere he goes. This is Micah 2 and 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds when the morning is light. They practice it because it is in the power of their hands. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. For them to take a building, all right, to take land, to take a whole city and claim that they did it and they built it, that's oppression. This is what they do all the time to Jake, right? If you really dig into it, you'll find out that Jake, everything in America, man, we built this land. All the inventions, all right? It was either made by Southern Kingdom or Northern Kingdom. Okay, the stoplight, the cell phone, the computer, the internet, right? The microwave, the refrigerator. Okay, you keep going through, man. Jake is at the origin of all of this because we are the what? The salt of the earth. All right, I'm gonna let this go some more.
No, they do say it was constructed in several phases. But I've been looking at this one for several years now and feel like the timeline has been altered, or they provided more information on the construction since this research has really taken off, I suppose you could say. They'll say that this portion here was built separately from the outer portion in the 20s, I believe it was. But this is an absolutely spectacular structure, even to say that this was done in 18 months in Quebec, Canada. I don't know if you know anything about Quebec City, but it's a harsh winter climate in Quebec City, like much of Canada.
So 18 months, but as he's saying, in the winter, you would not be working. So probably from like November to February, construction would shut down. So you would have to take away those months. So really, let's say about 10 months this was put up. All right, 10 to 12 months is the time frame because you would have to shut down in the winter months, right? So they put this up in about a year. You know, let Esau tell it.
So you have to almost write off a lot of the winter months on these timelines. Let's not forget that as we're moving forward in this video as well. Cities like Chicago, New York, production naturally slows down. These are the construction photos we're provided with for this expansion in the 20s. You can see a date here, February 27th it looks like. And a little bit of action going on here at the top. I'm not sure why you would wrap the cone, the top part of the cone before the bottom part, but this is supposedly a construction photo. We have a series of those provided. So full disclosure, I do like to include them. Here we're looking like we're jumping back a year and a half, 2 years. And even further back in that same year, 2021, this would be June 2021, or sorry, 1921. And this would be December. So these are quite elaborate construction photos, all taken really from that same angle. Again, you have to look into the early etchers of, and photo manipulation. There's quite a bit of work done on there. I'll put a few links. Latent Lexicon has done some good work I looked at recently. Mind Unveiled did some good stuff on that too. So we definitely...
So what he's saying is things could have been edited to make it look how it looks, just to give you so-called construction photos, right? Before they gave us Photoshop, they had Photoshop. Keep that in mind, all right? Whatever they're giving you now, they've been had that for 20, 30, 40 years, all right? You're getting old military tech. This is why when we see Jake talking about you gonna fight the military, bro, everything that you have is what the military used to have, used to use, you know? But keep that mindset, man, that you're gonna fight against these people. They playing a game on you and they laughing at you while they playing the game on you.
And work on the assumption that they weren't able to modify photographs. So I think here it is, the Chateau Frontenac here in the 40s, looking spectacular, looking old, looking all like one building. This is the Wells Street Station in Chicago for the Chicago and Northwestern Railway. This one is said to have been built 1852, 1853, very, very early time period for our North American narrative.
1852, 1853. Now I looked it up as well last night. Train stations or the railway station wasn't even really complete fully until 1860, I think 9, right? So once again, this is another building built with mainly horse and buggy. This is another building built with mainly horse and buggy. So all this material, all the stone, the brick, all of this is transported by horse and buggy. That's a damn lie, man. All right, that's a damn lie. Okay, it's not fast. It's not, what's the word, plausible for it to happen in 1 year, just simply using horse and buggy. So it's something behind the lie. And that furthermore will lead you into Jake had far more understanding than Esau has. And Esau may have it, they may understand it, but they're suppressing it. How we did a lesson a couple months ago showing how they had created a way to cure cancer in the 30s, 1930s, but they shut it down because they didn't want to, because cancer is what? It's $1 billion business, right? So it's they found energy sources where you don't have to use gas and all of this. But Esau loves they're making money off of gas. They're making money off of oil. So why would it wouldn't help them? You know what I'm saying? That's why a dude like Nikola Tesla would be shut down. All right, that's why hemp was outlawed. All right, all this type of stuff, any type of cure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We went into that Rife machine. Yep, that's it. I did a lesson on it. Yep. So yeah, brother, that brother got it right. So another thing is suppression is oppression. To suppress some information is oppression.
Also supposedly burned down in the Chicago fire and then rebuilt in 1881. I assume that this would be the rebuilt version. Not much difference really though, is there? Now some of these are taken out of my Demolished Buildings of North America books. This would be one of them. This one they closed down in 1911. Moving on to the Temperance Temple in Chicago. And we are told they broke ground for this in 1890, and it opened in May of 1892. Now that building timeline coincides with the build timeline for the Chicago World's Fair, which is also interesting. It was demolished.
The Chicago World Fair. And as you study, if you go into, these world fairs, they had a world fair in Paris, Chicago, I believe Boston, certain places all over the world, right? Where it had gigantic buildings and all of this, and then they were all suddenly tore down, So it's very strange, man. It's a whole lot of stuff that went on that was extremely strange when Esau was really, I guess, making his transition or takeover and all of that, right? But that's why history is his story. He controls the narrative because he won the war. So he can control whatever he wants to. He controls the information that's being pushed out there and funneled out there. That's why the education system created in the 1920s, right, is pretty much designed to what? Create an employee. It's not designed to really teach you. It's designed to create an employee. If skills that you need is teach me how to make a fire, man. Teach me how to plant crops. Teach me how to, these type of things. But no, you got to teach skills that's good for employment in the workforce, because that's the only thing that you're good at. That's the only thing that you're good for, is what Esau looks at you as, to keep you down and to keep you low. So that's all they do. They never teach you. They're never going to teach you financial literacy in school. They're never going to teach you how to do your taxes. All right? They're never going to teach you to control your money and save your money or none of that, bro. They're never going to teach you that. All right? They're never going to talk about how it was you had Moorish presidents, Israelites that was presidents that helped set up this country. Right? That drafted up the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence. All right, you had Jakes beside them, steering them and guiding them while they was getting everything together. All right, they never gonna teach you these things, man. Okay.
1926, so very short shelf life on this thing. The Women's Temperance Temple. Now here we see a drawing again, very similar to what we saw earlier with the Betts building. The Temperance Temple supposedly meant to have one of these towers on it, but I suppose we're to believe it never got constructed, or maybe it was removed. Not sure, but interesting. So we're looking at a sketch of the clearinghouse in New York City. This one's strange, so the cornerstone was said to have been laid on October 2nd, 1895, and then only 3 months later they dedicated the building.
This was built in 3 months in New York, but it's tore down now. For some reason they tore it down.
15th, 1896, they dedicate the building. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. 3 months to build this, from cornerstone to completion. Complete fiction as far as I'm concerned. Maybe that's why half of what I can find on this are just sketches and illustrations. This is a spectacular looking structure. Here's a photograph, just to give you a sense of the beauty of this thing. This is incredible. Here we have a street scene. There's some information. They always give you the dollars, don't they? Dollars down to the penny. We do have a little bit of the interior on this one too. The interior on some of these structures are very rare to find, so this gives you a sense of what they're able to accomplish in that 3-month period between laying the cornerstone and dedicating the building. Take a look at the curved ceilings. I know it's not a great photograph, but you can still get a sense of what's going on in this room. And truly, truly, truly spectacular structure. Of course, had to be demolished. And it looks like that demolition took place in the 60s. Jumping across to the other side of the continent, we're looking at the Santa Ana.
Cockamamie funny. He said they've been working on I-95 for like 15 years now, but they built this faster. Kind. They man, that's crazy. And I think they man, that's hilarious. Hey, let's keep it going. Yeah. But the point's been proven. All right, I ain't gonna play the whole video. We're gonna move on to the next video. I'm gonna play a little bit more. But the point has been proven is that the technology of old, right? And all those buildings was built without power tools. Okay, in the 1800s, you did not have power tools. All right, let's look up when power tools were invented. The first power tools were invented in 1895 when the German company C&E Fang created the first electric hand drill by combining an electric motor with a manual drill. Later in 1917, Black & Decker developed the first portable electric drill with a pistol grip and trigger, which is similar to the modern electric drills we use today. So really the 1920s is when power tools became popular and came into, commercial or retail, on the market to sell, to go out. So before then, everything was just basic, that as they would tell you, right? But you look at the pyramids, right? You look at Joseph, all right? Things that we built. Let's get that in Exodus. Because Jake been doing stuff like this. Okay? It ain't nothing for us. This is Exodus 1:11. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. All right? So you had Israelites back then building up the treasure cities, and then even before that, all right, you go back years before that, you would have Joseph and the things that he did being basically governor of Egypt, building structures and things of that nature. All right. So this is nothing new to us. This is nothing new. If Northern Kingdom could build ships to transverse the Atlantic Ocean, bruh, like they could build ships to leave Europe and leave Africa, okay, and to come to America, all right, and settle in America, that's nothing. Okay? So you gotta stop looking at it like we man, once again, man, we the salt of the earth. Okay? What do you see right here? Another building with a what? With a bell tower. We understood sound. We understood how to heal. Nobody was really getting sick. Who brought sickness? Comment board. Who brought sickness to us? Who brought sickness? Who created the common cold? Exactly. Esau. We didn't know what the fuck getting sick was. We might have, you know what I'm saying? But we wasn't getting sick like that. Because the way we lived, the way we moved, we was moving. We was walking, we was exercising. We wasn't lazy. We wasn't getting sick. Esau was the one that was full of diseases. All of this type of stuff. He would touch you when you would get sick because the nigga is dirty. Going back to him being a fugitive and a vagabond. He is known as the wild man. All right, let's let a little bit more of this go, then we're going to move on.
Courthouse in California, said to have been built in 1900 to 1901, at a time when the population of Santa Ana would have been around 5,000 people. Now this thing still stands, believe it or not. It's a fairly popular wedding venue, it looks like. As I noticed when I was doing the research, you could see the high quality construction materials here going on in Santa Ana in 1900. And we do have some early depictions. And you get a sense here of the other buildings in the general area as well at this early time.
And this is California, Santa Ana.
And you want to know what it looks like in the modern day? Very typically, what they like to do is take away the...
What did they do? What did they take down? Comment board. Y'all paying attention? What did they knock off the top? What did they knock off the top? The bell tower. Exactly. They knocked off the bell tower. Why? Because bells heal. You used to have bells all over America. Most of the buildings I showed you had bell towers. Once again, stating it for the 15th time, we understood frequencies. We understood how they affected the body. We understood that the frequency that the bell puts out, it heals the body. It reduces stress. All right? It relieves the body. So Esau, let's go to Psalm 64. All right? This dude is a devil, man. He's a damn devil. Let's start at 2. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. They work sin. What does sin lead to? Death. So they work death. Who wet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. Any way that they can get you. They love to get you in a contract. All right? That they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They shoot at Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. And furthermore, they shoot at us. Okay? They can't touch him, so they're going to touch us. They touch the apple of his eye. That's us. Right? Verse 5. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares. Privately they say, who shall see them? They didn't never think we would figure this out. They didn't think we would research this and figure out that they took all our old buildings and they claim to build our buildings that we built. But we ain't stupid. Okay? Verse 6. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. So for them to understand that bells heal us, they would have to know that. And that would be the reason they knock them down all over the country. And actually all over the planet. Because I'm going to show you, the next video we about to get into shows you that they took bells from everywhere on the planet. And they burnt them up. They said they needed them for metal for the war. That was the excuse. But then after the war, they didn't never get the bells back. Okay? So before, in the 1800s, you had a sense of understanding where everybody knew that the bell tower was important. It was the central point of a city. Every single city had a bell tower or a place where a bell was rung. Why you got church bells? All right, that's common. Used to ring the bell. The town center used to ring the bell. All right, how do you bring cows and sheep in? You ring the bell. This was understood. It did not need to be explained. That's why, man, we are at the lowest point civilization. All right, in a sense. So nothing is new under the sun, man. This devil is wicked as hell. Proverbs 4:14 through 16 from the brother Kakuma. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. For they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. So Esau got to get him a nigga, man. Okay? Exactly, Ak. The bells purify from evil spirits. Exactly. It's that frequency. So if it cleanses you, it's what? It's also purifying you. All right? It's helping you in numerous ways. You know? So, of course, if I was Esau, hey, let me just play Esau. If I was Esau, oh, these Israelites, they built buildings with bell towers on it. Okay. Let me go ahead and knock that shit off. Let me go ahead and knock their healing structure off. Because I figured out they use this to heal one another. Let me knock that off. All right? I don't need these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans to heal one another. No, I can't have that. I'm ruling over them now. I'm bringing death to this land because that's what I love. Don't Ezekiel say he pursued blood? He loves blood? Right? This man loves blood, man.
What they like to do is take away the eye-catching portion of these structures. You can see that they've done away with all of this here. The bell tower. And even the front part of the facade here has been flattened and planed out. So that's what they do to these things over time. Now, is it just for safety purposes? Was it crumbling? It's only a 120-year-old building according to their narrative, so why would that be the case? Especially when you look at, again, the quality of construction here. What I suggest is that they are taking those triggers away from us. When you see something.
And this was all done with so-called horse and buggy. All done with so-called horse and buggy. Yo, Esau lying, bro. All right? I'm looking into it more, but we knew how to use magnets. All right? We had magnetic railways. Like, we knew how to use magnets and technology and stuff like that to transport materials. Okay? So we wasn't stupid. You know? We had sophisticated ways of transporting materials. Cause that's what Jake is, the salt of the earth, man. All right? We wasn't using horse and buggies for every damn thing. Building buildings, no. All right? And Esau, once again, Esau knows this shit, but they suppress it.
Like this is a trigger in our mind to say, whoa, something's going on here. We don't build this way today. But when you take that away, it becomes much more plausible. Moving on to the Denver County Courthouse.
Look, what similar structure. You could tell these are built by Jake. Similar structure. All right? What also looks like this? Think about it in your mind. What also looks like this? The White House, okay, the legislative building, okay, everything up in Washington fucking D.C. All right? But you think they built that shit? They didn't build that shit. Okay? Man, we baby walked their ass into this country. We baby walked their ass. We helped them set it up, and then they betrayed us, as they always did, because that's what they fucking did to the Moors. All right? That's what they did to the Moors, and that's the same people. We them same people. They come into our civilization. They bring sickness. They try to befriend us. Y'all just had y'all little Thanksgiving, right? They befriended the tribe of Gad, and then they what? They backstabbed them. This is what goes on. Matter of fact, hold up. My wife was reading this book. I gotta go find that shit. Right here. All right? You scroll in on this. And I'm going to read a little bit of this. At their first Thanksgiving celebration in 1621, there were only 6 or 7 sane people left in the whole Pilgrim colony because they really couldn't survive through the winter. The rest were mentally deranged. In other words, putting it into modern everyday language, the bulk of them were just plain crazy. All right. Now, what did they do? Captain John Smith wrote this, and it's the same individual that's in Pocahontas. Y'all remember Pocahontas as a kid? He wrote, "So great was our famine that a savage we slew and burned." That's talking about a Native American, tribe of Gad, a so-called savage. So we the savages, but look at what the fuck y'all about to do. The poorer sort took him up again and ate him. I'm going to read that for you like 3 times. The poorer sort took him up again and ate him. The poorer sort took him up again and ate him. All right? And so did diverse ones, another boiled and stewed with herbs. And one amongst the rest did kill his wife, powdered her, and had eaten part of her. This is who we dealing with, man. This is who we dealing with. This is who they are at their core. They're cannibals. They don't know how to survive. All right? They revert back to their wild man ways, their caveman ways. Eating people. This is what they do. But no, you want to join hand in hand and you want to save Esau. When it comes out of these individuals' mouth, man, you want to save the Gentiles? Bro, you bugging the fuck out. It's because you don't have no understanding of what actually took place. Let it go.
So construction started on this one in 1881, we are told, and completed in 1880, at a time when the population of Denver was about 35,000 people. Of course, you'll tell me that they had deep pockets in Denver because of the silver and gold mining that was going on there. Seems to be a way to explain away all sorts of magnificent art.
Look at that. Central, bell tower, stands out. All right? That's how it would have been. That's how our cities would have looked. All right? You had one big central building, like the brother said earlier, a city hall, etc., etc. And it would have had a bell tower in it. This would be the central location of the entire city. This is how we built things. You know?
Texture. Here we have a street scene of that area from the time. Now, they tore this thing down in the 30s. Why on earth you would tear such a structure down? Well, I think we're getting the picture. A lot of unreasonable things seem to have gone on. It really is a tragedy to see all these structures that have been demolished. Again, this is one of those ones that I have included in my my books on demolished buildings here in North America. This is the old Museum of Art.
We can end it right there, man. I'm gonna get the next video, but that right there, if anybody want to go into it, you know, and finish it, because it's far more buildings he gonna go into all over the country. All right, that's old world construction timelines. Old world construction timelines, and the page is old world exploration. All right. He goes into a lot of, old buildings and stuff like that, our people built, that was built in those time frames. All right. So the next one, I'm going to play a little bit of it. Where is it at? Bells. Right here. Let's make it go fast. And this would just be tying to the bells and showing you why all the structures have bell towers.
Episode 1, War and the Bells, the official story. The year was 1914. Europe had plunged into a conflict that would consume millions, redraw borders, and reshape history. In the midst of this chaos, an often overlooked object became the focus of national urgency: the church bell. Bronze, heavy, resonant, and essential to communities for centuries, bells were suddenly a commodity. Governments across Europe decreed that all bells must be collected, melted down, and recast into munitions. The official explanation was straightforward. Metal was needed for cannons, shells, and war machines. Communities were asked to sacrifice their bells for the patriotic duty of metal contribution. Historical records confirm this. From France to Germany, Italy to Austria-Hungary, bells were requisitioned under strict orders. Municipalities documented the collection, and foundries reported the melting and recasting. Yet, even as the official narrative unfolded, subtle anomalies began to appear. Indeed, photographs survived showing rows upon rows of bells stacked neatly in open fields, awaiting transport. In some instances, bells were collected, but not immediately melted. Reports indicate that many of these bells never reached foundries at all. In some towns, the bells simply vanished, their fates unrecorded, leaving communities bereft of the resonant sounds that had structured daily life for centuries.
So what is he pushing? You know, the structured sounds that guided daily life for centuries. This is not a new thing. Bells, once again, this was going back to the time of the Moors. Us, Israelites, all right? We knew and understood their function. We created them. We built them, all right, through the Spirit, okay? So, you know, for Esau and his power, WW1, right, to make a bullshit excuse, we need the bells because we need the metal and all of that for ammunition, etc., etc. All right, it's a lie, bro. Okay? And then for you not to bring it back afterwards, it's furthermore showing that you did it on purpose to take away the benefits of the bells, to take away what it did for the community. Now, what did the brother Yahweh say earlier? That bells purify and cleanse evil spirits. So if you take the bells out of the community, what's going to flow more in that community? Evil spirits. All right? Sin. Okay? It's going to flow more. Let's read a little bit over here. Bells offer benefits ranging from mental and emotional well-being through relaxation and focus to physical and cognitive activity through ringing and sound therapy. They are also used for spiritual and religious practices to signal ceremonies, invoke positive energy, and create a sacred atmosphere. Additionally, bells provide functional benefits like signaling and timekeeping in various settings. So it goes past the sound. And this is always pushing this. Live purposeful. Okay? When you playing that trash ass music, man, the Lil Uzi Vert, the Lil Baby, the Megan Thee Stallion, and all that, guess what? That shit is fucking you up. It's detrimental to your body. It's messing up. You are what? You're 75% water. If you understand that. You're 75% water. So, going back to, let's get a precept. Going back to it, it's what you put into your body. And that does not just mean what you eat. No, that means what you hear, what you feel, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of that. All right. Let's go to Matthew. Let's get that. Matthew 18 and start at 7. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe to that man by whom the offense cometh. Wherefore, if thy hand or thy foot offend thee, cut them off and cast them from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life halt or maimed rather than having 2 hands or 2 feet to be cast into everlasting fire. And if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life with 1 eye rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into hell fire. So if you can't get away from these poor vibrations, all this trash music, all this bullshit that you taking in, all this food that's bad for you, if you can't leave the fast food alone, you know, basically what he's saying is you got to cut that shit off, man. Okay? You got to cut it off. Cut it out. Get rid of it. He's not telling you to literally cut off your eye or nothing like that. But whatever is holding you back, all right, whatever is tainting your body and tainting your spirit and tainting your soul, you have to separate from that. Okay, let's get one more precept. This is Matthew 6 and 22. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold on to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve power and mammon. For them to take the bells out and them to just allow, whatever, then what are they trying to push? They're pushing darkness, because darkness is going to be there. And the bells was pushing it out. All right? In a what's the word, man? Unconscious or subconscious way. When they rung the bell, you didn't even know. Most people don't know that bells had these functions. That's why they was always in the community. Okay? So as we seeing, that happened in 1914. All right? And similar, that was in Europe. Similarly, it happened in America as well. Because they were what? They was tearing down some of these buildings, or they were simply knocking off the top, taking off the bell tower. All right? So it was a worldwide decision to get rid of the bells. And you think that's not important? You really, not considering that? Esau went on a worldwide rampage to get rid of bells. That shit is hella important, man. Watch what this devil do, because he search out iniquities. He carries out a diligent search. So when he does something, in a sense like that, it's important because he knows the purpose behind it.
Historians attribute these gaps to wartime chaos, logistical errors, and bureaucratic inefficiency. It was a time of total war, after all, and paperwork often did not survive the conflict. Yet, the patterns are curious. Why were certain regions stripped entirely of bells, only to have no replacement after hostilities ceased? Why were records of shipment, melting, or recasting incomplete or inconsistent? In areas where metal collection was particularly aggressive, entire inventories disappeared, sometimes hundreds of bells at a time, and there is no evidence that they were repurposed as munitions. This raises questions that traditional history struggles to answer. Could something else have been going on behind the scenes? Some historians note that the removal of bells profoundly disrupted social life. Bells were more than timekeepers. They signaled daily routines, summoned communities for work, and marked spiritual observances. Their absence created a kind of sonic vacuum, a disruption that, while subtle, altered communal rhythms and social cohesion. Communities reported that the absence of bells left the town feeling off-kilter, as if an unseen layer of protection had been removed. By the end of World War I, the official story had taken root. The bells were melted for the war effort, and any anomalies could be chalked up to wartime confusion.
Let's get a precept. This is Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand unto a time and times and the dividing of time. Right? So Esau, in that sense, is what? He's wearing out the saints. He's taking away something that was beneficial to the saints, that was helping the saints, that would purge out demons, that was helping your waters in your body. Always think about this. You have what? 75% water in your body. So that's why I talked about the music that you're listening to. Because you may be like, well, it's just music. But that music is affecting the waters in your body. That's why the 808 frequency is used a lot. Because they know that is a frequency that puts a person in a trance. It's literally brainwashing you. It can literally put like you got Jake. What do they listen to? Drill music. When they go to do what? A drill. When they go to unalive somebody, they playing a certain type of music. They don't go unalive somebody playing classical music. No. What does classical music do to you? It heals you. It helps you. Okay? What does drill music do to you? It gets you in a spirit where you want to unalive somebody. Fuck a nigga, kill a nigga, pop, like whatever. You know? So music is extremely important. It carries a certain vibration and it alters the waters in your body. Frequencies in general, such as the bells. All right? Frequencies in general. So that's going back to your eye being single. Be careful what you indulge in, especially if your conscience is weak. You know, especially if your conscience is weak. All right? I'm going to let a little bit more of this play, then we're going to get to the last video.
But for those willing to look closer, a question remained. Why, after the war, were these communities not provided with replacements, while other cultural artifacts were returned or rebuilt? This small but persistent mystery would become a central thread in the tale of the ancient bells of Tartarian. Episode 2. Anomalies in the Records. The post-war world saw Europe in ruins, governments scrambling to rebuild, and populations mourning loss. Amid the devastation, historians began to notice a pattern in the record books, a pattern that suggested a much more deliberate and coordinated removal of bells than the official story allowed. Field reports, museum archives, and foundry records indicate that large clusters of bells were systematically collected, then stored in central locations, often in open fields, awaiting disposal. Some of these bells were eventually shipped for melting, but many disappeared entirely. Eyewitness accounts from the 1920s and 1930s describe towns where entire inventories of bells had been removed, leaving the community silent. Villagers remembered the enormous effort required to transport the bells, noting that dozens of men and horses were employed simply to move them into storage. In several instances, these storage fields were photographed or sketched, showing lines of bells stretching for hundreds of meters. Remarkably, many of these storage fields never led to foundries, and the bells themselves never appeared in munitions records. The inconsistencies are striking. Why would authorities go to the trouble of moving massive bells across hundreds of kilometers, only to let them languish in fields, unmolten and unaccounted for? And why did communities that had lost their bells during the war not see replacements after the conflict ended? Some scholars argue that logistical limitations and economic constraints explain part of this discrepancy. It is true that Europe was struggling to rebuild, and that foundries were overwhelmed with demands for industrial and military metal. Yet the systematic nature of the removals, combined with the failure to replace them, suggests a deeper motive.
Boom. Systematic, right? It was, at the end of the day, it was strategic. Okay? We at war. And we've been at war. This been 6,000 years of war, man. All right? Ever since, Esau struck in the garden. Okay? That was a battle. He won that battle because we got kicked out. All right. Now we've been fighting battle after battle after battle after battle. Okay. So this is nothing more than just another battle. So it was strategic. In battles, you are strategic. You understand? We are approaching the final battle. Right. So Esau did this in a way to what? To weaken his enemy. That's why it was strategic all over the world. And this is why they never got replaced. As you can see, they blaming it on transportation and all. No, that's a damn lie, bro. Cut it out. Just cut the crap. Okay? Cut the crap. All right? As time goes on, technology gets better. You could have replaced the bells. You could still replace the bells. You know what the use is of the bells. You know that they help people. But no, Esau would rather give you some radiation-ass phones that destroys your body, that destroys your temple, that damages the water inside of you. You understand? They want you sleeping with this. They want you keeping this in your pocket all day, and that destroys your immune system. All right? So Esau would love to give you some radiation. What does radiation cause? cancer. What can help cure that and help heal that? Bells, all right? Grounding. But what do they put in your shoes? What do they put in your shoes? Rubber, all right? To stop the energy from the earth coming up. Okay? And I don't think I'm sounding crazy or nothing. This shit is real. You can look it up. That grounding for at least 40 minutes, just walking barefoot on the ground, that actually kills cancer cells. It helps your body. It heals your body. All right? But hey, Jake like, nah, I ain't getting dirty. I ain't getting dirty. Nigga, like the earth is trying to hurt you or something. The earth is here. You acting like the earth is poison. No, your mindset is poison. Esau, the YT man, done poison your mind. He got you scared of the earth. You scared of the trees and shit. You scared of the flowers. You scared to go outside. That's crazy. When you supposed to be in one with nature, man. Nature is supposed to heal you and help you. Things like bells, birds, flowers, chirping, all of that is beautiful. I love to wake up and hear the birds chirping, or especially when I was in the country, I love to hear the grasshoppers, the locusts, all of that making noise. The cicadas chirping and making their noise. It's peaceful. It's healing. It's relaxing. The Most High created this earth to relax you. All right? Esau takes away everything that heals you and relaxes you because he destroys the earth. All right? Let's get into the last video. And this one is about the Eiffel Tower. Okay? The Eiffel Tower. Now, I know y'all probably think some French white guy built the Eiffel Tower. But let's go into it. And this will be the last one. Hey, fair use, TikTok, fair use.
Century was an age of steam, coal, and humanity's first clumsy steps toward an industrial society. In this version of history, soot-covered workers with pickaxes and shovels create masterpieces that are incredibly difficult to replicate even today with our lasers and computer modeling. But the official story omits one detail that shatters the entire picture: the metal. Where did so much metal come from in an era when the primary mode of transport was a horse and cart? The crowning jewels of this technological absurdity were the Crystal Palace in London.
That would be the same question to ask, going back to those buildings we just showed you in America. All right? All the metal, and how was it transported? With just a horse and a buggy. Okay? It's making they didn't have no cars. They didn't even have no trains. All right? All they had was a horse and a buggy.
Eiffel Tower in Paris. Historians calmly assert that these behemoths were designed on paper by candlelight, then cast and assembled by hand by semi-literate workers in record time. But the moment you pick up a calculator and a metallurgy textbook, the official story begins to fall apart at the seams, revealing a terrifying void. Our investigation begins with the marvel of the Victorian era, the Crystal Palace in London, supposedly built in 1851. This gigantic structure of glass and cast iron was erected in just a few months. The exhibition hall covered over 90,000 square meters, with a length of 564.
Run that back.
Over 90,000 glass and cast iron was erected in just a few months.
This was built in just a few months. Same thing they saying. All right? Them other buildings built in a year, couple months, etc., etc. All right? Bro. This stuff was already there. I'm glad you could see it. Brother said, ain't no way. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way. Man, hey, I don't mess with the chat GPT, but for brothers that do, you could type in chat GPT and you could be like, is that even possible with a horse and a buggy? And chat GPT will tell you, no, it's not possible. Okay?
The exhibition hall covered over 90,000 square meters, with a length of 564 meters. And all of this, according to textbooks, was designed by a gardener, Joseph Paxton, a man who had only built greenhouses before. Suddenly, he creates a design requiring engineering calculations on par with modern materials science. But the most incredible part lies in the materials. Construction required 4,500 tons of cast iron and iron structures, not to mention 300,000 panes of hand-blown glass. 4,500 tons of metal. In the mid-19th century, metallurgy, as we are told, was just getting started. To produce such a quantity of pure, high-quality cast iron for load-bearing structures, tens of thousands of tons of ore had to be processed, and mountains of coal had to be burned. Where were these giant mines? Where were the foundries capable of producing materials of such quality at such a pace? Judging by the iron production statistics of the time, the entire industry of Britain would have had to work exclusively on this palace, halting the production of rails, machinery, and weapons. Now let's jump to France in 1889, to the symbol of Paris, the Eiffel Tower. It was built in 2 years, 2 months, and 5 days. The weight of the metal structure is 7,300 tons. 7,000 tons of special puddled iron. Puddling is a process where molten cast iron is manually stirred in a furnace with long rods to burn off excess carbon. It's hellish, backbreaking, and incredibly inefficient labor. With this method, it's impossible to achieve material uniformity. Each batch of metal would differ in composition and strength. But the tower stands, perfectly assembled from 18,000 parts. To produce 7,000 tons of such iron, entire armies of workers would have been needed, stirring molten metal with rods day and night. And again, an economic question arises. In the late 19th century, France was going through hard times after wars and crises. And suddenly, the state spends a colossal amount of funds and a strategic resource, high-quality iron, on what was essentially a useless exhibition arch. Where is the logic in this? This looks less like a demonstration of power, and more like the use of a pre-existing resource that came at no cost. We are faced with a fundamental contradiction. The official figures and dates do not align with the laws of physics and economics. It was impossible to produce such volumes of metal with the stated technologies.
Boom. That's it right there. Okay? It was impossible. All right? The numbers, what they say all the time, the math is not mathing. All right? The math is not mathing. It's not logical. But he about to mention a certain part that definitely is not logical. It's not, and as the brother said, labor Edomites could not do. Exactly. And wait till he get to this point, and I'm going to stop it again when he get to this point, because this shit is crazy. And you know Jake did it.
But even if we assume they somehow produced all this metal, the next step is where the story enters the realm of pure fantasy. It had to be delivered. Even if we were to concede that the metal for these grand projects was miraculously produced, it then had to be transported to construction sites located in the centers of Europe's largest capitals. And it's here that the official version of history collides with the laws of elementary logistics. In the mid-19th century, railways had extremely limited capacity and did not form a comprehensive network. The primary means of freight transport remained the horse-drawn cart.
The horse-drawn cart. Now that's the same thing that we was talking about with the buildings in America. It was no railway yet. All right? It wasn't fully put together yet. But you had some buildings coming up in the 1840s, 1850s, right? When the main transportation was horse and buggy, all right? So either those buildings was already there by a civilization of people that was already there, because who ruled France before? It was us, all right? Who ruled America before? It was us. Okay? So, somebody took something. Somebody took something and claimed. What they say? Finders, keepers. Losers, weepers, man. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. All right? That's Esau's stating. That's not according to the law. That's stealing, bro. Talking about some finders, keepers. Now, you better give me my shit back.
Now, picture this. Thousands upon thousands of carts, pulled by exhausted horses, hauling multi-ton cast iron beams and intricate trusses over rutted, muddy roads in England and France. Each such cart is a slow-moving obstacle, creating traffic jams for miles. The delivery of 4,500 tons of materials for the Crystal Palace to Hyde Park should have triggered a transportation collapse that would have paralyzed London for months, if not a year. The same applies to Paris during the construction of the Eiffel Tower. The city center should have turned into an impassable labyrinth of building materials, carts, and animals. This would have been front-page news in every paper, the main topic of conversation among citizens, and city authorities would have left records of their attempts to solve this monstrous problem. But in the archives of the time, there is a deafening silence. No mention of a traffic apocalypse, no complaints. Both gigantic structures rose in the hearts of their cities as if their parts had materialized on site out of thin air, like mushrooms after the rain. But the logistical nightmare is only half the problem. The true technological miracle, bordering on science fiction, begins at the moment of assembly. The Eiffel Tower consists of 18,038 metal parts, held together by 2.5 million rivets. Each rivet had to be heated red hot, inserted into a hole, and hammered from both sides by a team of men before it cooled and contracted, pulling the structure tight. All of this at a tremendous height, in the wind, where the slightest mistake could be fatal. The official story states that all the holes for these millions of rivets were drilled in advance at different factories. Eiffel's engineers, using only slide rules and paper blueprints, supposedly calculated all 18,000 unique parts with pinpoint accuracy, down to a fraction of a millimeter, and never once made a mistake. This is statistically impossible. In those days, a unified system of standards was just beginning to emerge.
And that's the part I'm talking about. All right? That's Jake. Okay? The mathematicians. The salt, the way that we do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to end it right there, but that's Jake. Okay? That Esau has never been able to do nothing like that. You know? They can't build like that. They are what? Let's go back. Let's go to Genesis. This is Genesis 3:14. And Yahweh power said unto the serpent. Now that serpent in the Hebrew is Nakash. This is simply a warlock, a witch, a person that practiced divination. Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Okay, now when you understand it's not a serpent, and this ain't how the snake lost his legs or none of that. No, this is not that. The snake that you know was created with no legs. Okay, that's understandable. That's how he was created. All right. Now this referring to him as a snake because he's like that. He was conniving. He was, what does it say at the top? He was the most subtile. He was more subtile than any beast of the field. Meaning he was more subtile than any nation. The beasts of the field. We were what? We was the gardeners. We was the husbandmen, the rulers of the other nations. So they were like beasts of the field. That's what they are looked at upon. And you can get that in Ecclesiastes 3 and what is that? 21, okay? Or 19. They're like beasts, right? So Esau was at the top of that. He was more subtile, meaning crafty, meaning wise. This is why he was known as a serpent. Now, let's read the end of that. Thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. So he's not able to really create anything. Everything Esau takes, he steals. He's not the originator of nothing. Even, brothers say the atomic bomb, but even if you look into the atomic bomb, Jake created that. It came out that Jake, in a basement, these college students, they created a miniature atomic bomb. And Esau stumbled upon them and took it, and then took that basis and took it, and that's where you got the Manhattan Project from. So even Jake created these weapons. All right? Esau just builds upon something. That's how, as they show you the earlier pictures of Paris, right? If I could find it again in the beginning. Like this. Okay? Esau would come in there after Esau took over. Because when did we lose Spain? Let's read a little bit of it. All right? The Moors, who were Islamic people, ain't no such race, ain't no such nation as Islamic. Okay? Of North African and Arab origin. All right? These are Israelites, man. We were in those lands. We dwelt in those lands. Brother got the answer right. 1492, exactly. ruled parts of the Iberian Peninsula, modern-day Spain, and Portugal for approximately 781 years, from 711 to 1492. They left a significant legacy, introducing advancements in science, mathematics, agriculture, and architecture, and creating a flourishing civilization in their regions known as Andalus. Their rule ended with the Reconquista and the fall of Granada, right? Elder said, Jake creates the technology for good, Esau steals it for evil and makes weapons. Exactly. All right, brother said, yeah. And you could watch, what's that movie, man? The Circle. Let me go get that. Because that's a perfect, this joint right here. The Circle, right? You got your boy, what's the boy, John Boyega? Yeah, John Boyega. So in this movie, he creates the chip. He creates the C-hip with something similar to it. And it tracks your life. All right? But he created it for good. He created it for like a social media thing. You know what I'm saying? And then you got all these damn Edomites, especially this wicked ass devil. All right? You got these Edomites. They take it, something that he created in the movie, and they use it for bad. All right? So that movie is it's called The Circle. All right? It's a pretty good movie. You know, it's straight. But it's fire. But it shows you how Jake created these things and Esau just takes it and uses it for bad, you know? So, hey, that's pretty much it, man. Just going through, Esau be lying, talking about he built these buildings and all of that. He didn't build shit, okay? You know, the buildings that he built was like Roman buildings. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull up one. Let me see. Look at this right here. I want to find the exact one, man. Oh, right here. Booyah. This is in Petra, Mount Seir, Petra, Jordan, right? This is his land. This is where he's from. This is the land of Edom. This is, what? This looks like a little Roman Colosseum type thing. All right? Esau built this. This is the stuff that he builds. All right? This architecture. That's Esau. Right? That's what he does. Roman architecture. This is what he likes. That's why he builds his buildings like that. You know? So that's it. That's him. He lives in caves. He lives in mountains. He's a caveman. Okay? So that same architecture, like this right here, right? This looks exactly like a Roman theater. Matter of fact, I'm going to type in a Roman theater. Look at it. It's a Roman theater. That's it. That's the same shit. Nothing changes, man. All right. So, wait, with that being said, man, I hope this was edifying. You know what I'm saying? Hope y'all got something out of it. All right. Always double check, triple check. Don't just believe Esau. Never trust our enemy. Don't trust his word. His word don't matter. Okay? It does not matter at all. Right? This dude is wicked as hell. He makes up lies continuously. He talking about he made the car. He didn't even make the car. All right? Like anything Esau said he make, we could go into it and damn near prove that he did not make it. He stole it. He stole that shit. You know? All right? So, hey, man, with that being said, facing the east, giving all praises, honor, and glory be to the Father and the Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops. As always, Shalawam to the Lord's hopeful elect. Shalawam Yasharahla. And a Bible ball to this wicked kingdom. May Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah destroy this bitch yesterday. Right? Yeah, whoa, hold up. Had to get mandatory shots just so my son, fuck that. Nah, it had to be a way around that, man, like foul like religious, what is it? You could file like religious something. Cause that, yeah, religious exemption or something. Kakuma, that shit ain't funny. That shit is not funny, man. Oh, okay. Yeah. Don't get them. Yeah. Because shoot, that happened with people talking about they had to get the jabby jab, but now people suing the hell out of Esau. Cause they can't do that, man. They can't force nothing into you. That's why when we tell you individuals, the C-hip, they can't force it on you. It's gonna be made mandatory, but they can't force it on you. Okay? They can't force it. So it will be made mandatory, and you will be given a choice to serve Satan, Esau, the YT man, or to be with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. Okay? So Esau can't come and force nothing on you. You know? You're going to have to make that choice. All right? So yeah, man. Hey, shalom.